Class 219, Majechi. Talent, Fire Rain, Nature Type. Grade, B. Class 220, Baobua. Talent, Iron Body, Overhuman Type. Grade, C. Class 222, Wanshua. Talent, Void Bronze, Illusion Type. Grade S. I stood on the playground of Xingho City High School No. 2, surrounded by every senior in the district. We were all staring at the awakening platform at the front. It was built from over 10,000 spirit stones, designed to trigger the hidden potential within us. One by one, students stepped up. The platform flashed with different colors as Principal Sun, a burly and energetic man, announced the results. When someone hit a C grade, the crowd stayed quiet. It was common. When a B grade or higher appeared, people started whispering. But when Lan Aoshua triggered that S grade, the crowd erupted into cheers. I had been in this world for 6 months. I knew today was the day that would decide my fate. I stood in a corner of the crowd, my face tight with nerves. This world, the Azure Realm, was nothing like the Earth I remembered. Outside the city walls, the wilderness was ruled by vicious monsters. Above the clouds, demons circled the sky. Deep underground, terrifying races waited for any chance to strike. In this world, humanity didn't survive with guns or technology. We survived through awakened warriors. Everyone gets a chance at age 17. Over 90% of people awaken something. Anything from elemental powers to physical mutations. The grades went from F all the way up to SSS. The higher your grade, the higher your ceiling. Oldly, are we going to be living the high life? Or are we going to be working manual labor for the rest of our lives? It all comes down to today. My best friend, Kai Su, was rubbing his hands together. He was a bit chubby with 2 small tiger teeth, and right now, he looked like he was about to faint. Class 222, Kai Su. Step up, Principal Sun shouted. So soon? I'm not ready. Oldly, my legs are shaking. Do something to calm me down. Kai Su was pale and trembling. He couldn't even move. No problem, I said. I swung my hand and slapped him right across the face. Smack. A bright red handprint appeared on his chubby cheek. He stared at me, stunned. Oldly, what was that for? Helping you relax, I replied. Are you still nervous? Not really, he muttered, rubbing his face. But now I'm a little angry. I kind of want to strangle you. Anger is better than fear, I said, pushing him toward the stage. The principal is waiting. Go. Kai Su stumbled onto the platform. As soon as his feet touched the spirit stones, they glowed. His body began to change. The fat on his frame melted away in seconds, replaced by solid, dense muscle. He shrank in size, but looked twice as dangerous. A purple light flashed. Class 222, Kai Su. Principal Sun announced, his eyes sharp. Awakened overhuman type, double energy bronze bone. Grade, B+. The crowd hadn't even reacted before Kai Su started jumping for joy. B+. I'm set. My future is secured. Principal Sun's face went dark. Kai Su, get off the stage. Next, Kai Su ran back to me, grinning ear to ear. Oldly, that slap was lucky. I love you, man. He tried to pull me into a hug. I stepped back. Easy. You're a genius now. Keep your image. Right. Geniuses are supposed to be proud. He coughed and straightened his shirt. Listen, since you gave me a lucky slap, I have to return the favor. I'll slap you into a B grade too. Just then, the principal called my name. Class 222, Li Suifeng. My turn, I said, dodging his hand. Keep your slap. I'll be fine. I walked up the steps. I felt the spirit stones hum beneath my feet. A white light flickered above my head. It was dim, faint. Principal Sun's voice was flat. Class 222, Li Suifeng. Awakened nature type, light stream. Grade, E. The words hit me like a physical blow. My face went white. In this world, your grade was your social class. A C or D grade could still get you into a decent university and a steady job. But E grade? That was the bottom of the barrel. It was useless. There was no potential for growth. Out of all the students today, I was the only one who hit an E. I was a failure. I walked off the stage in a daze. I didn't hear the whispers. I didn't see the pitying looks. I just kept walking until I reached the school gates. Oldly, Kai Su followed me, his usual grin gone. He looked like he wanted to say something, but didn't know how. Congrats on the B+, man, I said, forcing a smile. Don't worry about me. I hurried across the street before he could respond. He didn't chase me. He knew my pride was shattered. He knew words wouldn't help. I ducked into a quiet alley and stared at my hand. I focused, and a tiny ball of light appeared at my fingertip. It was no bigger than a soybean. It was golden, but so weak that a soft breeze would probably blow it out. This was light stream. No combat power, no utility. It was dimmer than a firefly. What am I supposed to do with this? I hissed, snapping my fingers to extinguish the light. Suddenly, something changed. Kill a flicker of light. Talent points +1. Translucent text floated in front of my eyes. My heart skipped a beat. As a transmigrator, I knew exactly what this was. My golden ticket had finally arrived. A full status panel appeared in the air. Asterisk name, Li Suifeng. Realm, none. Physique, 1. Spirit, 1. Talent, light stream, level 1+. Cultivation, none. Technique, none. Talent points, 1. Asterisk. I looked at the numbers. A physique and spirit of 1 meant I was just an average person. I was weak. But I didn't care, I was smiling now. This panel was my edge. With this, I could actually change my fate. My dark, hopeless life was about to take a massive turn. I was heading towards something brilliant. I looked at the panel again and noticed a small plus sign next to my talent. It meant I could upgrade. System, upgrade me, I whispered. The text flashed before my eyes. 1 talent point vanished. My level 1 light stream talent instantly transformed into a D-rank talent, light ball. My spirit attribute jumped by 2 points. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. My talent actually jumped from level 1 to D rank, just like that. My mental strength increased along with it. Was this for real? I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I checked my stats. Realm, none. Physique, 1. Spirit, 3. Talent, light ball, D rank. Talent points, 0. I covered my mouth, trying to stifle a scream of pure joy. My spirit was now at 3, which was 3 times that of a normal person. All of this changed because of a single click. I felt like I was finally ready to take flight. I took a deep breath to calm down and looked back at the first notification. I had gained that 1 talent point because I killed a glow ant. Where was it? I looked down. Right under my shoe was a tiny ant, no bigger than a fingernail, with a brown shell. I had accidentally crushed it. My eyes lit up. In this world, humans weren't the only ones who evolved through spiritual energy. Animals did too. These glow ants looked like normal ants, but they emitted a faint light at night. They were the most common mutated insects in Spark City. If killing one ant gave me a point, and points could upgrade my talent, then nothing was stopping me. I could go from D rank to C rank, B rank, or even SSS rank. Nobody is going to stop me from a massacre, I hissed with excitement. I began hunting. Ants are social creatures. If you see one, there are hundreds nearby. A few minutes later, I found a corner of the alley where the ground was shimmering with tiny spots of light. It was a gold mine. I started stomping. My boots hit the pavement with a rhythmic thud. Thud, thud, thud. Translucent text flooded my vision. Kill a glow ant, +1 point. Kill another, +1 point. I lost track of time as I danced a lethal jig in that dark alley. By the time the shimmering lights disappeared and the alley went dark, the ants were wiped out. I opened my panel. I had accumulated 128 talent points. The plus sign was back. System, max it out. I shouted in my head. The text blurred. 120 points vanished. My D-rank light ball talent evolved into a B-rank talent, Dawn Light. My spirit attribute surged by 9 points. My new stats were incredible. Physique, 1. Spirit, 12. Talent, Dawn Light, B rank. Talent points, 8. I couldn't stop grinning. My mental strength was now 12 times that of an average human. I noticed a detailed description under my new talent. Dawn Light, a B rank light type talent. When activated, the user gains the power of light, increasing strength and speed by 10 times. 10 times? That was basically a Super Saiyan mode. I had to test it. I took a deep breath and focused. Every pore in my body seemed to open. A golden aura flowed out like liquid fire, illuminating the dark alley. An indescribable power surged through my veins. There was a metal trash can lying on the ground nearby. I gave it a casual kick. Clang! The kin flew like a cannonball, slamming into the wall and crumpling into a piece of twisted scrap metal. Trash scattered everywhere. Was that really me? I whispered, looking at my foot. I started sprinting back and forth in the alley. I was moving so fast I would have shattered every world record back on Earth. This was the power of dawn light. It was raw, violent, and beautiful. But soon, a wave of exhaustion hit my head and body. Using the talent had drained my spirit. I needed to go home and recharge. I jogged back to my house with a smile I couldn't hide. As soon as I walked in, my little sister, Li Jiayue, ran toward me. She wore a white dress and had her hair in pigtails, looking like a little porcelain doll. "Brother, what talent did you awaken today?" she asked eagerly. I wiped the sweat from my forehead, but before I could answer, my mother, Wang Wan, walked out of the kitchen with a plate of food. "Jiayue, your brother had a long day. Don't bother him," she scolded gently. She set the plate down and smiled at me. "You're home late. You must be starving. Come, let's eat." I sat down and started scooping rice. "Is Dad not back yet?" "The factory is busy lately. He's working overtime," she said, placing some food in my bowl. I noticed her smile didn't reach her eyes. There was a lingering sense of disappointment there. It was such an important day, yet she didn't ask me about my awakening. She must have seen the results in the parent group chat already. She thought I failed. She didn't know I had just gained a way to defy my fate. I decided to keep it a secret for now. I would stay low-key until the college entrance exams. I wanted to surprise her with an admission letter from one of the top 8 universities. After dinner, I retreated to my room and pulled out my phone to research martial artists. I learned that a fighter's strength was determined by physique and spirit. Elemental types focused on spirit, while superhuman types focused on physique. Together, these made up a person's vitality. According to the official guidelines, once a person's vitality reached 30 points, they entered the awakening realm. They were considered a trainee martial artist. With my B-rank talent, my spirit was at 12 and my physique was at 1. That put my vitality at 13. I was almost halfway there. I just needed to find more places to grind. I needed more points. I wouldn't stop until my talent reached S rank. I calculated the numbers in my head. If I could push my vitality past the 30-point mark, I'd be a trainee martial artist. At that point, the martial arts exam would be a breeze. I leaned back and smiled, feeling a surge of anticipation. The next morning, I arrived at the gates of number 2 high school. My friend Kai Su was standing at a breakfast stall, clutching 2 freshly made crepes. He had just taken a bite of one when I lunged forward and snatched the other right out of his hand. "Thanks for the breakfast, chicken brother," I said, grinning. Kai Su stared at me, his eyes wide. "Oldly, you're okay?" "Why wouldn't I be?" I asked, taking a massive bite of the crepe. I acted like nothing had happened. Kai Su nodded, looking relieved. He probably thought I'd spent the night crying over my E-rank talent. He reached out and bumped his fist against mine. "I'm glad you've got a thick skin, man. After the class reshuffle today, we won't be in the same room anymore." "But hey, brothers for life, right?" I bumped him back. "Right. Hey, do you know where I can find a lot of mutated insects on campus?" "Mutated insects?" Kai Su shuddered. "The small woods outside the physical training hall. I spent 5 minutes there once and came out covered in itchy welts." "Why do you care?" "Just curious," I muttered. We finished our breakfast and headed to class 222. The room was buzzing with excitement, but as soon as I walked in, the noise died down. I felt the weight of a dozen different stares. Some were mocking, some were pitying, and some were just pure contempt. I ignored them all and took my seat. A moment later, a tall, beautiful girl walked through the door. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Unlike the cold reception I got, everyone looked at her with pure worship. This was Lan Aoshua. She wasn't just our class monitor. She was one of only 2 students in the entire school to awaken an S-rank talent. She walked over and sat down next to me. To my surprise, she looked at me with a soft expression. "Talent doesn't decide everything," she said quietly. "Hard work matters just as much. There are stories of people with average talent reaching the transcendent realm. Don't give up." The students around us whispered in confusion. They couldn't understand why an S-rank genius was wasting her breath on an E-rank loser like me. I just smiled at her. "Thanks for the encouragement. I'll keep at it." I remembered why she was so kind. 3 years ago, Before she was a genius, she was just a girl suffering from a hypoglycemic attack. I had found her looking pale and helpless and gave her my breakfast bread. She never forgot it. Our homeroom teacher walked in, looking ecstatic. Listen up. As per school policy, we are reshuffling the classes based on your awakenings. But first, some incredible news. Lan Aoshua has been scouted by Tianhuan University due to her S-rank talent, the Heavenly Void Eye. She is the first student in Spark City to be admitted to one of the top 8 universities this year. The classroom exploded. The top 8 were the Ivy League of martial arts schools. Most powerful martial artists in the country came from there. Getting in was nearly impossible, even for S-ranks. Lan Aoshua didn't even look up. She already knew. I looked at her, impressed. The top 8 didn't give out free passes easily. Her Heavenly Void Eye must have insane potential. The rest of you, the teacher continued, D-rank talents go to class 4. C, B, and A ranks go to classes 3, 2, and 1. Lan Aoshua, you will go to the principal's office for specialized training. As for the rest, the teacher looked at me with a meaningful gaze. Once the other students filtered out to join their new elite classes, I was the only one left. Teacher, where do I go? I asked. You stay here, Li Sui Feng. New students will be joining you soon. I knew what he meant. The new students were the other E-ranks and the ones who hadn't awakened at all. We were the discards. We would only study culture and history. We weren't even allowed in the training hall anymore. Teacher, can I apply for a retest? I want to move to a martial arts class. The teacher sighed and patted my shoulder. You were ranked E yesterday. That can't be changed. Look, being an ordinary person is okay too. You can still have a good life. He left, and soon the room filled with students wearing miserable expressions. A history teacher arrived and started a dull lecture. Half the class played on their phones, and the other half slept. Some just walked out the back door in frustration. I followed them. In the discard class, the school didn't care if you skipped. I didn't head for the gates, though. I headed straight for the small woods near the training hall. The place was crawling with life. I saw golden bees that looked like they were made of molten metal, palm-sized beetles with hooked legs, and lime worms that left toxic trails behind them. Normally, I would have run away. Now, my eyes were glowing. I lunged at the first insect I saw. Kill confirmed. Talent points +1. Kill confirmed. Talent points +3. Kill confirmed. Talent points +2. These things couldn't even fight back. I didn't even need to use my Dawn Light talent. I was like a whirlwind, crushing every bug in sight. I became so obsessed with the grind that I didn't even hear the final school bell ring. A group of martial arts students walked out of the training hall and stopped in their tracks. They stared at me as I scrambled through the dirt, hunting bugs like a madman. Wait, isn't that the E-rank loser? One of them whispered. Li Sui Feng, right? What the hell is he doing? He's from class 222, someone muttered. That class is a freak show. They have a monster like Lan Aoshua and a total loser like Li Sui Feng. It's a weird mix. But seriously, what is he doing? Why is he massacring innocent bugs? Maybe he snapped. You know, since he awakened a trash-tier talent. He's probably just venting his frustration on things that can't fight back. How pathetic. The crowd of students moved away from the woods, whispering and casting judgmental looks. They didn't want to get too close to a madman. I ignored them. As soon as the last of them disappeared, I stopped and looked down at my filthy, dirt-stained hands. A wild, ecstatic grin broke across my face. My talent points had broken 1,000. I was rich. I had spent the entire morning hunting. It was grueling, repetitive work, but it paid off. I opened my status panel and saw a small plus sign glowing next to my talent, Dawn Light. It was ready for an upgrade. Asterisk system, do it. Upgrade. Asterisk, I screamed in my head. Text flashed before my eyes. Asterisk consuming 1,000 talent points. Upgrading B-rank talent Dawn Light to A-rank talent Violent Light, that asterisk. A surge of energy rushed through me. My spirit stat jumped to 17, creeping closer to the major milestone of 30. But the real change was in the talent itself. Violent Light didn't just sound cooler, it was a beast. While my old talent gave me a decent boost, this new one increased my strength and speed by 20 times the moment I activated it. The effect had literally doubled. This is insane, I whispered. The only downside was my bank account. I was a pauper again, sitting on a measly handful of points. The sudden poverty made me feel a bit anxious, and right on cue, my stomach let out a long, hollow growl. I was exhausted and starving. I needed fuel if I was going to keep this up. I headed out of the school gates, checking my phone as I walked. My mom, Wong Won, had sent 4 or 5 messages asking when I'd be home for lunch. It was already nearly 1 p.m. I messaged her back, telling her I'd just grabbed something near school. She replied instantly with a digital red envelope. Extra cash, so I wouldn't starve. A wave of warmth hit my chest. At least someone was in my corner. I ducked into a small noodle shop and ordered a massive bowl of beef noodles with 3 extra eggs. I inhaled the food like a vacuum. There was no time for a nap. I headed straight back to the woods. By 2 p.m., students returning to the training hall saw me back at it, scavenging through the brush. They sneered. By 5 p.m., when school officially ended, their sneers turned into genuine confusion. "He's still there?" someone asked, staring. "He's been at it since this morning. Does he have a blood feud with bugs?" "He's the bug slayer now," another laughed. A few stayed to watch, making jokes at my expense, but I didn't care. I was in the zone. Eventually, the sun began to dip below the horizon. The spectators got bored and went home, leaving me alone in the darkening woods. It became harder to spot the insects in the shadows, so I finally called it quits. I stretched my aching back and checked my panel. I had managed to scrape together 260 talent points. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to stop the panic. As I walked out of the woods, I saw a janitor cleaning the steps of the training hall. An idea struck me. I waited for her to move on, then approached the hall's entrance. The electronic gates were closed, but there was a gap at the top. I grabbed the railing, hauled myself up, and vaulted over. The hall was dim and quiet. I crept toward a corner where a heavy sandbag was attached to a machine. This was the strength tester. Usually, only the Superman-type students used this to brag about their physical power. As a natural type, my focus was supposed to be on mental energy, not raw muscle. I looked around to make sure I was truly alone. Then, I activated violent light. A brilliant, golden radiance erupted around me. My hair drifted upward as if caught in an invisible wind. Power, pure, raw, and terrifying, flooded my veins. I wound up and threw a punch. Boom. My fist, shrouded in a golden-gray glow, buried itself deep into the sandbag. The impact was deafening. The machine's screen flickered to life, numbers spinning rapidly before settling. 1,000 kilograms. 1 ton. I stared at the screen, my eyes nearly popping out of my head. Am I really a natural type? Natural types were known for being glass cannons, high magic, low physical defense. But I had just hit with the force of a truck. For comparison, a world-class heavyweight boxer like Mike Tyson peaked at around 400 kilograms of force. I had cleared that by 600 kilograms. If I fought him right now, one punch would probably end his life. And this was with my base constitution being weak. If I leveled up my physical body and then used violent light, I could probably punch through an aircraft carrier. Suddenly, I heard a rhythmic tap-tap-tap from outside. Someone was coming. My heightened spirit had sharpened my senses. In the woods, I could hear bugs crawling through grass. Now, those footsteps sounded like drum beats. I didn't wait around. I bolted, vaulted the gate, and vanished into the night. A minute later, the gate buzzed open. A middle-aged man in a gray suit and gold-rimmed glasses walked in. He headed to his office, grabbed a briefcase he'd forgotten, and turned to leave. "I'm not even 50 and my memory is already shot," he muttered. He stopped dead. His eyes locked onto the glowing screen of the strength tester. Am I seeing things? The seniors had only awakened their talents yesterday. They hadn't even started real training yet. Most of the Superman types were hitting maybe 300 or 400 kilograms. He walked over and touched the sandbag. It was still warm. This machine didn't make mistakes. Someone had just walked in here and delivered a 1-ton punch. Who the hell was that? The man looked around the gym, but I was long gone. Frustrated, he walked to the steps outside and spotted an old woman cleaning the floor. "Old Kai," he called out. "Did you see anyone go into the gym just now?" The cleaning lady looked up, her expression dazed. "I think it was a student." I didn't get a good look at which class he was from. The man didn't look disappointed. If the person was a student here, he'd find them eventually. No student could hide a one-ton punch for long. In his mind, this kid was a seed-level genius, someone the school needed to nurture at all costs. 3 days passed in a flash. I showed up at school every day, but I never set foot in a classroom. I spent every waking hour in the small woods, hunting. My talent points were climbing fast, hitting 690 before I knew it. I'd killed so many bugs that the other students started calling me the pest control demon. They joked that the principal should give me a job as a janitor because every insect in my path ended up slaughtered. One afternoon, as I was finishing up, a group of students stood at the edge of the woods, mocking me. "Hey, if you're done playing with bugs, go home to your mama," one of them sneered. Suddenly, a voice boomed from behind them. "Keep talking and see what happens." A slightly chubby guy walked up, clutching a lunchbox. It was Kai-Su, my best friend. He wasn't someone to mess with. He had a B-rank dual talent and a powerful family background. The bullies didn't want any trouble. They scrambled away immediately. Kai-Su walked into the woods, swatting at the mosquitoes buzzing around his ears. He looked at me and grinned. "Old Lee, time to eat." He'd been bringing me lunch and dinner for the last few days. He probably thought I'd lost my mind, but he stayed loyal anyway. I grabbed the food, ignoring the dirt on my hands, and started shoveling it in. I said, using his nickname, "Thanks, GG." Kai-Su looked around at the lack of bugs. "You've been killing everything in sight, but why do you ignore the mosquitoes?" I couldn't exactly tell him that normal mosquitoes didn't give me talent points. I mumbled, "They're too small, hard to catch." Kai-Su nodded, then lowered his voice. "By the way, were you near the gym 3 days ago?" I paused. "Why do you ask?" "Director Zhang, the guy in charge of the gym, is looking for someone," Kai-Su explained. "He said a student went in there and left a 1,000-kilogram record on the strength tester. Do you have any idea how insane that is? Even with my B-rank talent, I can only hit 320. 1,000 is unheard of." I looked at him, my expression blank. "GG, if I told you that was me, would you believe it?" Kai-Su stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing. He threw an arm around my shoulder. "Old Lee, I never knew you were such a comedian." I sighed. If he didn't believe me, there was no point in pushing it. I wondered if Director Zhang wanted to recruit me or yell at me for breaking into the gym after hours. Either way, I wasn't ready to go public yet. As we walked toward the school gates, Kai-Su turned to me, his face serious. "Old Lee, the college entrance exams are less than a month away. A normal university isn't so bad, you know? Don't stress yourself out." He was trying to be nice, thinking I was failing. I just smiled. "Don't worry, GG. I know what I'm doing." We parted ways. But I didn't go home. I headed toward a massive building with a sign that read, Xingxiang Dojo. In a world where strength determined your future, parents paid a fortune for extracurricular training. Dojos were everywhere. This one was ranked in the top 10 in Spark City. I walked inside. The woods were empty now. I'd hunted the mutated bugs to near extinction. I needed a new source of points, and a high-end dojo seemed like the best place to find stronger targets. "Can I help you?" a girl in a short skirt asked, smiling. "I want to join the dojo," I said. She led me to a massive training hall. It was packed with over 100 high school students, all looking nervous. Suddenly, the crowd parted. "Tiger is here. Get out of the way," someone shouted. A guy nearly 2 meters tall walked in. He was built like a tank, his skin dark and his expression cold. Behind him followed a skinny kid named Yin Hao, acting like a loyal dog. The whispers started immediately. "That's Tang Hu. He's an A-rank Earth elementalist. The dojo paid a fortune to recruit him to represent them in the exams." In these dojos, there were regular students and representative students. The representatives were the geniuses who would bring fame to the dojo by acing the exams. Tang Hu stripped off his jacket, revealing slabs of muscle. The girls in the room gasped. He didn't look at anyone. Suddenly, a brownish glow enveloped his body, forming a literal suit of stone armor. A-rank talent. Earth solidification. With a roar, Tang Hu threw a punch. Boom. The heavy training dummy, weighing at least 100 kilograms, flew across the room and slammed into the floor, making the entire hall shake. The other students stood there, mouths agape. I watched from the corner, nodding to myself. That A-rank talent was impressive. It provided defense and explosive power simultaneously. But as I felt the violent light buzzing under my skin, I knew one thing for sure. My power wasn't a single bit weaker than his. I didn't feel any of the jealousy or imbalance the other students were showing. I just stood there, waiting. The head of the dojo, Zhang Daong, finally appeared. He was a man in his prime, with temples that bulged slightly, a clear sign of his physical power. His first sentence sent a wave of disappointment through the hall. "We're short on space," he said bluntly. "Anyone with a talent below C rank, please leave now." Just like that, the crowd thinned out. Out of over 100 students, only 26 of us remained. Zhang Daong wasn't done, though. "Those of you left meet our requirements," he continued. "But if you want to join, the tuition is 1,000 yuan. The students who had come prepared stepped forward one by one to pay his assistant. I stayed exactly where I was. When the assistant finished collecting the money, he noticed me standing there alone. "Hey kid," he called out. "Where's your tuition?" Every eye in the room turned toward me. I kept my voice calm and steady. "I didn't bring any money." The assistant's face soured instantly. "You didn't bring money? Then why are you here signing up?" I ignored him. I looked directly at Zhang Daong, my expression serious. "Director Zhang, I want to represent your dojo in the upcoming college entrance exams." The assistant's eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Are you kidding me? In this country, the martial exams weren't just for public schools. Private dojos could also recommend students. But because dojos lack the resources of public schools, they usually had to pay a fortune to poach geniuses. That was exactly how they got Tang Hu to join. For a student to walk in off the street and offer to be a representative for free? It sounded ridiculous. Geniuses were usually hunted down. The ones who showed up at your door were usually losers looking for a handout. "This isn't a playground, kid," the assistant snapped, waving me away. "Go find somewhere else to hang out." A hand reached out and stopped him. It was Zhang Daong. He was studying me, his face grim. "It's not impossible to become a representative disciple," he said. "But you have to show me your talent first." Before he even finished speaking, I walked toward the training dummy that Tang Hu had just sent flying. Under the watchful gaze of everyone in the hall, I raised my arm. In an instant, a brilliant golden light erupted, coating my limb. I saw Zhang Daong's eyelids twitch. The sternness on his face vanished, replaced by pure anticipation. I didn't wait. My fist, wrapped in that violent golden glow, slammed into the dummy's chest. Boom. The heavy dummy didn't just fly. It soared like a kite with its string cut. It traveled over 20 meters before slamming into the floor with a bone-shaking thud. It didn't bounce back. It couldn't. The entire upper half of the dummy had been shattered into pieces by the sheer force of my strike. The silence in the hall was deafening. The assistant and the other students stood there, mouths hanging open. They didn't know who I was, but they knew what they had just seen, a top-tier talent. Even Tang Hu, who had been busy beating on a much larger dummy in the back, stopped what he was doing. He locked his eyes on me, his gaze heavy and serious. It was the first time since entering the building that he had actually acknowledged another person's existence. Zhang Daong was the most excited of all. He practically sprinted over to me. "Kid, what's your name?" "Li Suifeng," I replied, letting the violent light fade from my skin. "And that talent? What was it?" he asked, his breath coming in short, quick gasps. There are thousands of talents in this world, and even a man like him couldn't identify them all on sight. But he knew one thing for sure. This was an A-rank talent, just like Tang Hu. "It's an A-rank light element talent," I said. Violent light. A roar of whispers broke out. The looks the other students gave me changed instantly. The curiosity was gone, replaced by burning envy. Statistically, only about 1 to 3% of students ever awakened an A-rank talent. I was now officially a 1 in 100 genius. "Li, my young friend," Zhang Daong said, trying to hide his glee. "Are you truly interested in being our representative?" "I wouldn't be here otherwise," I said. "Good. Excellent." He was beaming now. He already had Tang Hu, and now another A-rank genius had literally dropped into his lap. This year, Jingxiang Dojo was going to be famous. "Let's go to my office. We need to talk details." As I followed him, the assistant who had tried to kick me out earlier suddenly appeared at my side. His face was twisted into a fawning, oily smile. "Master Li, please, excuse my ignorance earlier. I didn't mean anything by it." I just shook my head. I didn't care about him. Zhang Daong waved him away and sat me down across from his desk. Young friendly, he said, getting straight to the point. What are your requirements for joining us? I played it cool. I'll leave that to you, director. Zhang Daong nodded solemnly. I'm a straight shooter. I don't like games. Usually, my assistant handles negotiations, but since he offended you, I'll handle this personally. He paused, looking me in the eye. 20,000 yuan up front. If you get into a first-rate university, I'll give you another 20,000 as a bonus. If you make it into one of the top 8 academies, the bonus becomes 200,000. What do you think? My heart skipped a beat. 20,000 just for signing my name? And potentially hundreds of thousands more later? Making money was way easier than I thought. I reached out my hand. Director, we have a deal. Fantastic. He laughed, shaking my hand firmly. He quickly drafted a contract. It was incredibly one-sided in my favor. I would represent the dojo, and if I did well, I got paid. If I failed, there were no penalties. In this world, that was just the reality of being a genius. Private dojos were desperate for talent, and Zhang Daong wasn't going to be stingy when I had just proven I was on par with Tang Hu. After I signed, he handed me a special card engraved with the name of the dojo. This was my identity card and my ticket into the martial exams. One more thing, Zhang Daong said with a smile. Before the exams start, you'll need to officially drop out of your school. I knew the rules. I couldn't represent both the dojo and my high school. Since I was in the liberal arts track anyway, I didn't have a path to the martial exams through the school system. This was my way out. I understand, I nodded. Have you studied any physical martial arts at school yet? He asked. I haven't had the chance, I lied. The truth was I hadn't been allowed into the awakening class, so I never learned the techniques. Zhang Daong just grinned. That's no problem at all. We have more than 20 days left, Zhang Daong said, a confident smile spreading across his face. That's plenty of time for you to master a physical martial arts technique. He handed me a tablet. The screen was filled with book covers, each displaying the name of a different style. I saw 8 Desolations Leaf Kick, Spirit Stream Wind Rain Finger, 9 Steps of the Spirit Snake, Mountain Pushing Palm, and Taizu Long Fist. Some of these were common techniques taught in public schools, while others were the private collection of the Xinxiang Dojo. Even in this world, technology was advanced. Martial arts manuals were all digital now. I didn't rush to pick one. Director, I asked, my violent light gives me a temporary boost in both strength and agility. Which technique do you think would suit me best? A natural element talent that provides physical buffs similar to a superhuman type? That's rare, Zhang Daong muttered, his eyes flickering with envy. He was the head of a dojo, but he only had a B-rank superhuman talent. Compared to my violent light, his starting point was much lower. He had only reached his current level through decades of grueling work. Given your talent, a strike-based technique is your best bet, he advised. I nodded. With the college entrance exams looming, I needed something I could learn fast. Humans have a natural instinct for punching and kicking, so those styles were usually the easiest to grasp. I tapped the cover of Taizu Long Fist. Good choice, Zhang Daong said. Let's add each other as friends on our devices. I'll send the file over. It's encrypted, so you can only study it yourself. You can't transfer it to anyone else, and I expect you not to teach it to outsiders. I understand, I replied. It was a standard rule for dojo-exclusive techniques. Once the transfer was complete, he asked for my bank details. Within seconds, a notification popped up. 20,000 credits had been deposited into my account. It was a fortune to me, but I kept my face stone cold, pretending to be deeply immersed in the manual. A genius who works hard is a terrifying thing, Zhang Daong noted, looking pleased. If you need it, I can give you a private training room. It's better than practicing at home. I didn't even look up. I was already lost in the text. Half an hour later, I had finished reading the entire manual. Suddenly, my internal status panel flickered and changed. Under the martial arts section, Taizu Long Fist appeared. It was currently at uninitiated, but there was a small plus sign next to it. My heart raced. System, I thought, level up Taizu Long Fist. The text shifted instantly. 1 talent point consumed. Taizu Long Fist, basic level. Constitution +1. I nearly shouted for joy. The manual said it took a normal person a week to reach the basic level, and even geniuses needed 3 days. I had done it in a second just by looking at it. Again, I commanded. Max it out. 100 talent points vanished. Taizu Long Fist, proficient level. Constitution +5. A sudden surge of heat exploded in my body, centering in my arms. Under my long sleeves, my muscles visibly thickened. My constitution had jumped to 7 points. I felt transformed. I realized then that while my talent increased my spirit, martial arts increased my physical constitution. If I kept balancing both, I would have no weaknesses. I would be a god of both mind and body. However, Taizu Long Fist was just a low-tier mortal technique. It was meant for students to build a foundation. Its limit was the proficient level. In this world, techniques were ranked as mortal, spirit, earth, and heaven. Higher-tier techniques had 6 stages: basic, small success, proficient, great success, consummation, and intent. Director, can I learn another one? I asked, greedy for more power. No, Zhang Deong snapped. Martial arts aren't a game. You haven't even started practicing the first one. If you get distracted now, you'll end up mastering nothing. Focus on getting Taizu Long Fist to the basic level before the exams. I wanted to show him my proficient level form right then and there, but I stopped myself. Reaching that level in 30 minutes was logically impossible. If word got out, the government would be at my door wondering how I did it. I had to hide my secret for now. I made an excuse about going home for dinner and left the office. As I walked away, I felt Zhang Deong's suspicious gaze on my back. He was probably wondering why I suddenly looked taller and broader than I did an hour ago. That night, alone in my room, I stripped down to my boxers and began to practice. The essence of the long fist was power and momentum. With the system's knowledge burned into my muscles, my movements were perfect. I threw a punch into the empty air. The sheer gust of wind from my fist knocked a lamp off my desk 3 meters away. Sway foam? Is everything okay in there? My mother called from outside. I just knocked over a lamp. It's fine, I yelled back, embarrassed. I set the lamp back up and stared out the window. Between my A-rank talent and my mastered martial arts, I finally had the power to protect myself. It was time to stop hunting bugs in the woods. I needed to go outside the city walls. The next morning, I skipped school. I packed a camouflage backpack and headed toward the city center. I stopped at the Heavenly Martial Pavilion, a massive skyscraper owned by one of the 6 major corporations in the country. It was the premier place for warriors to buy gear. As soon as I stepped through the glass doors, a female guide approached me with a professional smile. Welcome. How can I help you today? I pulled out my phone and looked at the list I had screenshotted earlier. I told the guide I needed 5 bottles of nutrition potion and 5 energy pills. I also asked for 2 beast-repelling incense sticks and 3 sets of various compressed biscuits and canned food. The guide looked surprised. I was young, yet I was ordering a lot of supplies. She realized immediately that I was preparing to head out of the city. Her professional smile grew warmer. She asked me to wait in the lounge area and promised to be back quickly. 5 minutes later, she returned carrying an olive green military suitcase. She laid it out and told me everything I requested was inside. The total came to 18,000 yuan. The suitcase was a free gift. I took the price list from her and double-checked it. Everything matched the prices I had researched online. I scanned the QR code and authorized the payment. Just like that, 18,000 yuan vanished from my account. I felt a sudden hollowness in my chest. That was enough money to cover my family's living expenses for at least 6 months. Now, I had spent it all in one go. The path to becoming a martial artist was truly a money sink. I tucked the suitcase into my camouflage backpack. The guide flashed me one last smile as I walked out of the building. I didn't waste any time and headed straight for the west side of Xingho City. Half an hour later, I reached the west gate. It was mid-morning, and the area was crowded with people leaving the city. Most of them were burly, fit martial artists. I blended into the crowd and waited my turn in line. When I reached the front, a guard reached out and blocked my path. He asked to see my exit permit. The wilderness outside the city walls was a wasteland crawling with demonic beasts. It was dangerous. To stop weak people from throwing their lives away, and to prevent spies from the strange demon cults from infiltrating, the government was strict. From high-ranking martial artists to common citizens, everyone needed a permit to pass through the gates. I reached into my bag and pulled out my identification.